welcome to the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show. This is Dr. Michael McGee here, and we're very pleased today to have with us as our guest Dr. Mark Pirtle. Dr. Pirtle is a clinician and a teacher and an expert in mind-body medicine, and he's on the faculty of the fellowship program for the Arizona Center for Integrated Medicine at the University of Arizona. Welcome, Dr. Pirtle.
Hi, Dr. Mike. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited. You have a very interesting title for our talk today. It's Fear the Mother of the Beast. Fear the Mother of the Beast. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, indeed.
And what does that mean, Fear the Mother of the Beast?
I got that from a Michael White story. He's an Irish poet that I love to listen to, and he was telling a story from Beowulf, an old English poem.
Yes, I've read it, Beowulf. It's a great story.
Yeah, and one of the stories in Beowulf is that this king in Denmark is being raided by this monster that crawls out of the swamp every night, and his name is Grendel, and he drags away young men and women, leaving a trail of blood, and he does this every single night. And so he, and Beowulf is this 6th century mercenary who the king enlists to help him out. And so Beowulf lies in wait in the great hall, and Grendel shows up, and there's this titanic battle, and finally Beowulf wounds Grendel, and he slinks back into the swamp and dies. And so there's this huge celebration the next night, and they're drinking mead and just going crazy, and then all of a sudden the doors of the hall bust open, and a guy wheels around and he goes, "Look, it's Grendel's mother!" And so what that all means to us, this analogy, is that bring it back to behavioral health. So we're so focused on these things that seem like nouns. These, like when you say the word depression, it seems like a thing that we know what that is, and let's attack that depression. Let's attack the anxiety. Let's attack the addiction. When you're not killing the beast, you gotta find the mother of the beast. And the mother of the beast, what lurks behind those labels, is that flicker of a mind moment that catches your attention and locks you in, and where you lose all your awareness and you enact this behavioral script that keeps you locked into a pattern that you can't escape. And so, I work in the area of behavioral health, and I see how we're treating folks with those stress-related conditions. And it's mostly you give the noun another noun, you give it a pill, and these conditions aren't nouns as much as they are verbs. They're enacted, and all this flowing activity, the trigger, the subsequent immediate thoughts and feelings, is a flow of activity that if you're not aware of that, if you can't step outside of that flow, you're going to be caught in the flow. And that's why I'm just, trying to start a national conversation with the movie that I just produced, Is Your Story Making You Sick?, on how to enable people to see for themselves this subtle activity happening inside themselves. Because until you can mindfully step back and witness the moment of the trigger and the subsequent thinking and feeling, you can't interrupt the flow. I hope I made sense.
Sure. So what I'm hearing you say is that the mother of the beast would be depression, anxiety, addiction.
Right.
Those are the beasts.
Yes.
And that the mother of the beast is something that gives birth to depression, anxiety, and addictions. That's
right.
Them.
And the mother of the beast is an enacted script think of it as software that is already encoded in your mind-body network.
It's part of your mental programming.
Yes, programming, and we all have that.
We all get programmed, don't we, growing up?
Absolutely, and whatever we've experienced in the past, our mind-body network is a recording device that's encoded in us, and not only what has happened, but how we react to what's happened. And so we're in this feedback loop of stuff happening and our reaction to stuff happening, and that is the software that gets triggered at particular times and in different ways. A person with depression gets triggered in a different way than a person with anxiety or an addiction or an eating disorder or whatever. The way you parent. When you get stressed out, you come home after a hard day's work, and if you're not mindful, you're just a meat robot enacting a pattern that's been scripted into you, and until you can see that patterning yourself and step out of it,
right.
The mother of the beast is pushing you.
Right. And with the mother of the beast, as I think about these things as a psychiatrist myself, I think about the prominent roles of trauma and neglect in causing misprogramming of the mind and making people vulnerable to these beasts of addiction, depression, and anxiety. What are your thoughts about sort of these preconditions that cause this misprogramming?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Dr. Mike, but I think you asked me something about trauma, and is that right?
Yes. I'm thinking that, what causes the misprogramming of the brain, that sort of this mother of the beast? Is it trauma and neglect, or what do you see?
Yeah,
as causing
like all of those things. So could be trauma, but it's also society. I can answer it very succinctly. We're just not in right relationship with a lot of things in our life. And so if we have people we live with who neglect us or mistreat us and we get traumatized that way, that comes out of some relationship that's not working. But maybe in order to soothe ourselves, we engage in a wrong relationship with a substance that then gets encoded, or our whole society is out of right relationship with the environment and the natural world. And so because it's hard, there are infinite causes and conditions, but everything comes down to how you relate to something else. We're all interdependently linked, and if grow up in an environment, in a social system that is not in right relationship with the other parts, then we're going to have that lack of right relationship encoded into us. And so we may eat too much, we may drink too much, we may, not parent in the way that facilitates the growth of a healthy brain in the child that we love, but we don't know how to get in right relationship. And so what mindfulness is, and I know you're a meditator, aren't you, Dr. Mike, right?
Yeah, it's about an hour every morning.
Yeah, see, that's like world-class meditation, and what you do when you meditate, and so I just want to amplify, what you're doing and applaud you for that, because what a meditator does is he or she sits and watches his or her subtle insides. And so thinking happens while you meditate, feeling happens while you meditate, but what the meditator does is stand aside figuratively and watch and try not to get entangled in all those thoughts and feelings, and in that way you shift from being the thoughts and feelings to the witness of the thoughts and feelings, and that witness becomes the leading edge of your evolution, who you are going to become, that wiser, kinder person that's evolving right in the moment that you're creating and encoding into your brain this wise and kind witness of your experience. And so then when you do go outside, and let's say you have the habit of thinking depressing thoughts, well, when those thoughts arise, because they're going to, then you could also begin to witness those thoughts, not get sucked into them, but be the witness of them, and that changes the brain that's thinking them. And so this is really the only way forward. It's the only way to heal an addiction, anxiety, depression. It's through all of us becoming enabled to be the better witness of our interior experience, which is, what I'm not an hour-a-day meditator, so, hats off to you, but I've been a meditator for 20 years, and I teach meditation, and it has completely changed my life. I mean, I had all the stress-related illnesses and the medicine chest full of pills 20 years ago. So been there, got the T-shirt, and now I'm living, I do have allergies, seasonal allergies, and so I take an allergy pill, but I don't take anything else. And I'm a healthy 58-year-old guy. I went on a 4-mile run yesterday, and I run, 10, 15 miles a week, and I'm as healthy as I can be. But it
that's wonderful. Meditation has really, really helped you. You're a personal testament to the benefits of meditation.
Well, I mean, it put me back in right relationship with myself, and not only myself. So I was more in tune with, my past programming, my future desires, like all of that, the nexus of all of that past and future that's happening in the now. I was able to see where I was out of relationship with women in my life. I was able to see where I was out of relationship with money. I was out of relationship with things and my spirituality, and gosh, just everything. There's not been one thing that's been untouched by me sort of waking up to my subtle insides. And it's a beautiful experience to really
if we think of that
be
as
at home inside of yourself. Yeah.
Say that again?
Well, it's a beautiful experience to be at home inside of yourself.
Yes. Yes. So what I hear you saying, Mark, is that the mother of the beast is this misprogramming from not being in right relationship with reality and society and with others, and that the awareness of mindfulness that separates you from being immersed in these automatic processes and thoughts and feelings, that awareness gives you some space and separation that allows for a natural healing process to occur.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And the healing that I'm talking about is just the natural byproduct of growth. People start to develop and grow because of the insight that they gain by turning inward.
Yeah,
and it grows,
awareness heals,
you up.
Would you say?
Yeah, right. I know.
Yes, that's really wonderful. How do you work with your patients to help cultivate this healing process?
Well, it depends on the patient. I mostly meet. I should say not mostly. All the time, try to meet them where they're at. And people have each individual will have a different way of looking at the world. So there's really three major perspectives that people can hold. The first tier, if you like to think of these as graduated, one being higher than the other. The first tier is the concrete tier. And people that hold a concrete perspective, they view everything as being solid, even the sense of themselves. So who they are is their body. And their spirituality is very solid. Like God is somewhere, and kind of like kids, all children are in the concrete perspective. You ask them about Santa Claus, and it's a solid thing. He lives at the North Pole, and he's got a workshop in elves, and that is a solid reality. So when folks grow up, kids grow up, they have to learn how to work a body and relate with people and a world, and so they grow up through the stage of being in a concrete relationship with everything. And when people are really, really under stress, that sort of forces you down into the concrete. So people with addictions, depression, anxiety, these conditions arise out of these concrete perspectives, either or, black and white, the emotions are huge in this concrete tier. And so when people are very emotional, they get a lot of, stress and cortisol in their systems, and it distorts their sense of reality. Now, when you start to meditate, you come into contact with a subtle sense of reality, the subtlety of your own thoughts and feelings, because you learn how to watch thoughts and feelings come and go. And so most adults are living in the subtle tier, but you kind of have to be taught how to mindfully work with your thoughts and feelings. Okay.
How do you teach patients to do that, Mark?
How do I? Yeah. So, there are two kinds of thoughts that we can have, and everybody listening will know by their own experience that this is so. That we have thoughts that seem like mental sounds. We've all had a song stuck in our head. So that I call that kind of thought, a sound-like thought, I call it talk. And Shinzen Young, you may know, he's a meditation teacher. He was my teacher when I first started, and he taught me to use that word so I can interact with the subtle phenomena called talk. Okay, so sound-like thoughts. There's also picture-like thoughts. If I say Eiffel Tower, you just had a picture-like thought. Now, when I teach people how to work with these types of thoughts, I get them to use their senses, so their ears and their eyes, and anybody listening. So if you're not driving and you can close your eyes and just listen, do so. And if you are driving, when I give the example on the Eiffel Tower, you won't necessarily see it, but let's start with talk, okay? So Dr. Mike, what I want you to do, and everybody that's listening, is I just want you to listen to my voice, which is a real sound, and then also start counting to 50 inside your head. So you have two kind of things that you're paying attention to. My voice, which is a real sound, and the talk, the counting that's going on in your head. Now, when people are in relationship to the talk and they're in the concrete perspective, that counting sounds like it's a real sound. It seems like it's a real sound. But now that you're listening, and I'm getting you to listen to something very subtle that's happening in your head, the counting, you can probably hear, use your mind's ear now, that even though you're counting, there isn't literally sound in your head compared to my voice. That although the talk is there, it's not a sound.
The two are different.
It sounds like.
One is a sound, and the other is
meaning in the mind.
More of a thought.
Yeah, and so what a thought is it's meaning in the mind. But a person with a concrete perspective takes it as a sound. And even more so when you talk about image activity. If I say Eiffel Tower, and if I don't set anybody up, and I say, close your eyes, I'm going to say Eiffel Tower. I've done this in groups of lots of people. Raise your hand if you see the Eiffel Tower. Everybody raises their hand. But the truth is, and here you can try this on, if you're able to close your eyes, and I'll set you up here. Now, see with your mind's eye. You're still having a visual experience, but notice that you just see sort of a dark space behind your closed eyelids, and there might be some light and dark shapes kind of coming and going. You know, your visual cortex creates a little bit of a light show that you might see, but focus on that while you think of the Eiffel Tower, and you'll notice that you don't literally see the Eiffel Tower, you just see a black space and a light show, right? We got to wrap up.
We'll continue in just a second. We'll be right back with Dr. Mark Pirtle, clinician, teacher, expert in mind-body therapy, faculty on the fellowship program for the Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine. And we're talking about mindfulness, awareness, and healing of misprogramming of the brain that causes depression, anxiety, addictions, and other forms of mind-body suffering. We'll be right back. This is Dr. Mike, the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show, and stay tuned. We'll be right back with you.
If you need a place for you or someone you love to help get you through the recovery process, then check out thehaven.com. Committed to integrity and excellence, they use evidence-based effective treatment that is patient-centered and patient-responsive. A total mind, body, spirit program in a safe, serene setting on the Central California coast. Visit thehaven.com. You'll be glad you did. That's thehaven.com.
Audiobooks gives you instant access to over 50,000 of the best sellers and hottest book titles in romance, mystery, fiction, and many other genres. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Audiobooks to get started.
Get ready to be addiction-free. This #1 best-selling multi-award-winning guide is what you've been waiting for. With his book, Joy of Recovery, the Harvard-trained Dr. Michael McGee has helped hundreds of patients to full recovery. Imagine transforming your life with the Joy of Recovery's unique 12-step program. Take the first step to overcome your obstacles now by getting the Joy of Recovery. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or drmichaelmcgee.com.
For the best in business class travel, count on Cheapo Air. Cheapo Air has the best price guarantee, 24/7 customer service, and easy booking online or by phone. To experience your hassle-free journey, start by going to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Cheapo Air.
Well Mind is where you'll get all the information you need to get personal consultations and help from Dr. Michael McGee. Using integrated methods for the mind, body, spirit, you'll get consistent and compassionate care. Whether you are a patient, caregiver, or professional, Dr. McGee has a program for you. Sessions can be in person or by computer from anywhere in the world. Visit wellmind.com to see how Dr. McGee can help you. That's wellmind.com.
The bright side of talk. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show. We're very privileged today to have Dr. Mark Pirtle with us, clinician, teacher, expert in mind-body therapy on the faculty of the fellowship program for the Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of Arizona. And we're talking about the misprogramming of the brain caused by society and trauma and neglect that causes so much suffering for people, part of the human condition, and the role of mindfulness and awareness in healing our misprogramming and bringing us back into right relationship with reality. And Mark, you were talking about the practice of mindfulness and talking about exercises to, for example, discriminate between mental images in our mind, like of the Eiffel Tower, and what we actually see, for example, in our brains when we close our eyes and look at our eyelids, for example. Do you want to continue on there?
Yeah, well, thanks. And thanks also again for having me. I really appreciate it. Just to have the opportunity to talk about these ideas to a larger audience, because we do grow up through our senses, and when the population as a whole understands these concepts more and is able to practice them more, we're going to live in a better world. So what I was just saying is we have thoughts that seem like mental sounds and thoughts that seem like mental pictures, but they are not actual sounds and actual pictures. When we're under stress, they feel like they are. And so that throws us into a concrete perspective. And concrete perspectives are a distortion that amplify emotion, that cause the programming that perpetuate depression and anxiety, addictions, all what I call stress-related illnesses. So becoming mindful then, being able to see when it's happening inside of yourself, to be the witness of that, you, in a sense, you step out of the feedback loop. And because your consciousness steps out of the feedback loop, you're able to be in relationship with that subtle activity in a very deft, skillful way. That's sort of what I call skillful awareness. And then the third tier, so there's the concrete tier, the subtle tier, and the third tier where we're hoping to go and potentially can go as a human population is to the meta-aware tier. So where people are aware of their own awareness and who they are is just awake. And then the stories that are programmed inside are seen as stories, and we don't have a significant attachment to them, and we suffer much less. And there's this amazing magnetism that when a person is meta-aware, there's a sense of love and connection, because the meta-aware person sees the interdependencies, the interconnections, the relationships, that everything is really one thing. And so a sense of love and connection arises, and yeah, I can imagine a whole world of people becoming meta-aware, and so that's why sort of I'm on my soapbox about that.
Right. So the process of looking, and seeing, and experiencing through awareness the workings of the mind, you're saying leads to ultimately to a process of waking up and seeing our oneness and unity as sort of the ultimate reality. Is that right?
Yeah, we're a small part of the whole, and a person in the concrete tier can also see they're a small part of the whole, but they don't feel connected. A person in the meta-aware that sees from that very high perspective sees the deep interconnection and the relationships, and everything feels like me.
Now, you've done some wonderful retreat work that's mindfulness-based on, and I've seen your wonderful movie, Is Your Story Making You Sick? Do you want to talk a little bit about that retreat process and how you harness this mindfulness-based approach for facilitating healing?
Sure. So we filmed 8 people through a process. They came to a dude ranch in southern Arizona called Canyon Ranch. It's not Canyon, the famous Canyon Ranch. This is Kenyon Ranch, Kenyon. It's in Tubac, Arizona. It's this quaint little dude ranch built in the 1930s. And we had these 8 folks come, and they were suffering from a variety of stress-related conditions, and they're survivors of trauma, and so they had a lot of programming that was, from their perspective, at least not making them well. So what we did was we had them come for 4 days, and we enacted this programming, and it's progressive. You have to learn and then do and practice, and because experience changes people, the more they participated and had experience with each other and bonded and shared their story and learned more and meditated and did sweat lodges and a whole bunch of other things, then they'd go home and we'd stay connected with them every week over the internet, and then they'd come back, and we did this 4 retreats over 6 months, but we stayed with them for over a year, and by and large, most of the folks really made a huge leap in their development and are feeling better and would report a significant improvement in their state. But we did the movie because we wanted people to know that everybody gets better when exposed to a healing environment and people that love them and support. It's really hard to heal alone, and when you engage with a community of loving people, their love supports you and yours them, and people grow and change, and then that becomes the virtuous feedback loop.
Yeah, so mindfulness is such an important part of the awareness process. We talked about awareness healing and changing our programming, but you're introducing another factor here, which is the need for loving interconnectedness. You talked about something that I'll just mention briefly. Somebody who's talked a little bit about this is Bruce Alexander, and his dislocation theory of addiction, and the idea that we have grown up in a dislocated, disintegrated society that has lost a sense of meaning and connection and interconnection. A little bit similar to what you're saying, Mark. And what I'm hearing you saying is that given that we have this fragmented society of loss of loving connection, that one of the things that you did in your healing retreat was to help facilitate loving connections so that people could boost their healing process.
That's correct. It's all about right relationship, getting the right relationship with yourself, and reforming a loving connection to yourself. That's part of the process too.
Right.
And
connection to self and
also
others.
Sort of going over your story and that narrative and reframing that in a loving way.
Yes, well put. We have Dr. Mark Pirtle with us. This is the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show. We're talking about healing our mental programming through mindfulness and love, and we'll be right back after this break.
Get ready to be addiction-free. This #1 best-selling, multi-award-winning guide is what you've been waiting for. With his book, Joy of Recovery, the Harvard-trained Dr. Michael McGee has helped hundreds of patients to full recovery. Imagine transforming your life with the Joy of Recovery's unique 12-step program. Take the first step to overcome your obstacles now by getting the Joy of Recovery. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or drmichaelmcgee.com.
Constant Contact and your small business make a perfect fit for marketing. They give you what you need to succeed. Fast and easy email marketing at your fingertips. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Constant Contact to start your marketing.
Well Mind is where you'll get all the information you need to get personal consultations and help from Dr. Michael McGee. Using integrated methods for the mind, body, spirit, you'll get consistent and compassionate care. Whether you are a patient, caregiver, or professional, Dr. McGee has a program for you. Sessions can be in person or by computer from anywhere in the world. Visit wellmind.com to see how Dr. McGee can help you. That's wellmind.com.
If you're looking for unique items at affordable prices, then you should try Dream Product. From apparel to beauty, from shoes to therapeutic relief products, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Dream Products, and maybe your dreams might just come into reality.
If you need a place for you or someone you love to help get you through the recovery process, then check out thehaven.com. Committed to integrity and excellence, they use evidence-based effective treatment that is patient-centered and patient-responsive. A total mind, body, spirit program in a safe, serene setting on the Central California coast. Visit thehaven.com. You'll be glad you did. That's thehaven.com.
You're listening to HealthyLife.net, the radio network that brings positive talk with positive change to make your world a little better.
Welcome back to the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show. This is Dr. Michael McGee here, and we have as our guest Dr. Mark Pirtle, a clinician, teacher, expert in mind-body therapy on the faculty of the fellowship program for the Arizona Center for Integrated Medicine at the University of Arizona. And we're talking about healing our misprogramming of our brain that causes so much suffering in the form of depression and addiction and anxiety. And Dr. Pirtle calls that the mother of the beast. And we're here talking about healing that. we talked about the importance of mindfulness in generating awareness of the workings of the mind and the self-corrective and healing nature of awareness in changing our programming. And we've also just now started talking about loving connections to others as part of the healing process. And Dr. Pirtle, you mentioned that it's very difficult to heal alone. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the role of love and connections to others in the healing work that you do.
Sure. Humans are innately social creatures, and one of the how do I frame this? A quality of living isolated or loneliness. So if a person reports being lonely, their probability of having a stress-related illness goes way up. Loneliness, really more than any other factor, whether it be trauma as a child, a person can survive trauma as a child if they are surrounded with loving, open-hearted people, and they're connected to people that care about them, and they can heal and move through their trauma. They can become a survivor of the trauma through the support. But folks that are alone and don't have those loving connections, or were never taught how to connect lovingly with others, are at a huge disadvantage, and the probability of a stress-related health problem just expands astronomically. Heart disease, autoimmune disease, cancers of all kinds. So many of these, what seem like gene-related problems, really emerge as a result of a lack of connection and really marinating yourself in biochemistry that is not healthy. The stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and absent the biochemistry that comes with loving connections, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine. Those are the healthy chemicals. When we don't have loving connections, we're sort of polluted inside by our biochemistry, and it doesn't make us feel well. Our endocrine system and immune system and everything goes out of whack.
So really, you mentioned the mother of the beast being sort of a misprogramming that is caused by a sense of disconnection. A lot of that disconnection in our society comes from a lack of loving connection, then, is what you're saying.
I would say that, and how we set things up, how we transact in the world, this whole, it's not even 9 to 5 anymore. People work so much that they don't have time for their kids, and they work so much that their primary love relationship fragments and dissolves, and they work so much that they can't be in loving relationship with themselves. Sit in quiet solitude and meditate or exercise daily. I mean, none of those things. Those things are luxuries to most people who have no time and energy to cultivate loving relationships. And so the society itself, the way we've set it up, is very unhealthy. And so why wouldn't we have so many unhealthy people and not be able to take care of them? The health crisis is absolutely predictable for how we live.
Yes, this disconnection has, as you're saying, has not only a huge impact on the mind, but then the mind and the body are one, and it results in a lot of health-related chronic illnesses as well. This lack of
and everything's interconnected. So, I mean, if we start with the earth, we've been farming, this industrial farming for 100 years now that uses petroleum fertilizers and pesticides, and so the ground doesn't have the natural probiotic, the one-celled organisms that used to proliferate and make our food nutrient-dense. And so since we don't have nutrient-dense food and our soils are dead, that has health consequences for everything, are just the way we relate to the natural world is out of balance. And we have a lot to fix. And where I think, at least where I'm putting my effort, is trying to get adults who are they've already had enough, and they're looking for a solution. I can't keep working this way anymore. I feel out of sorts. I'm not feeling well. How can I better help myself? That's the person that's ripe to learn how to meditate, be more mindful, and engage in this process of self-development. So after a time, they change themselves from within, and they start to relate differently on the outside, meaning they eat differently, they have different purchase patterns, they relate to their family members differently, and that's how we need to seed the environment, so to speak, with goodness. But we start with ourselves. We have to teach the vast majority, or maybe it's not even the vast majority. Maybe there's some tipping point where enough people, 10%, know how to and are doing this mindful thing. Maybe it spreads like wildfire after that point. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I'm hearing so much the sort of the interplay between mindfulness, love, and connectedness. And so many of the patients that you and I see, Mark, have suffered sort of a disability in their capacity to feel connected and to love and to be loved. And in psychiatry, we use that technical term, attachment disorder, which is really sort of a love deficit disorder in terms of that ability to be lovingly connected and mutual and love and be loved in a safe and skillful way. How do you go about? I mean, those are hard skills to learn. It's almost like learning to ride a unicycle while speaking a new language. How do you, in your retreat model, you really did some work in helping people to begin to start making loving connections with each other?
Yes. Very. To answer your question, what we did was we taught 10 virtues, 3 ways of thinking, 4 ways of speaking, and 3 ways of using your body. And I can go into those 10 virtues one by one and explain how, from the very get-go, we made a commitment to relate to each other in a healthy and loving way.
Great. We'll talk about that after the break. This is Well Mind with Dr. Mike. Dr. Michael McGee here with our guest, Dr. Mark Pirtle. Stay with us, and when we come back after the break, we'll talk about the 10 virtues for developing loving connection.
Well Mind is where you'll get all the information you need to get personal consultations and help from Dr. Michael McGee. Using integrated methods for the mind, body, spirit, you'll get consistent and compassionate care. Whether you are a patient, caregiver, or professional, Dr. McGee has a program for you. Sessions can be in person or by computer from anywhere in the world. Visit wellmind.com to see how Dr. McGee can help you. That's wellmind.com.
If you're not in the U.S., listen up. SureTrader is one of the most trusted and reliable names in share trading. With 6-to-1 leverage and other perks, SureTrade is the best for penny stocks and day trades. To find out more, visit our advertiser page and click on the SureTrader banner.
If you need a place for you or someone you love to help get you through the recovery process, then check out thehaven.com. Committed to integrity and excellence, they use evidence-based effective treatment that is patient-centered and patient-responsive. a total mind, body, spirit program in a safe, serene setting on the Central California coast. Visit thehaven.com. You'll be glad you did. That's thehaven.com.
You have too little time to shop, so try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
Get ready to be addiction-free. This #1 best-selling, multi-award-winning guide is what you've been waiting for. With his book, Joy of Recovery, the Harvard-trained Dr. Michael McGee has helped hundreds of patients to full recovery. Imagine transforming your life with the Joy of Recovery's unique 12-step program. Take the first step to overcome your obstacles now by getting the Joy of Recovery. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or drmichaelmcgee.com.
You're listening to CHSR Real Radio on the web.
Welcome back to the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show. Dr. Michael McGee here, and we're privileged today to have as our guest Dr. Mark Pirtle, an expert in mind-body therapy and healing of through a process of mindfulness and loving connectedness. Before the break, we were talking about developing our capacity to be in loving connection with others through the practice of 10 virtues. Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit about those 10 virtues?
Sure. So, again, I'll reiterate. So there's 3 virtues of mind, basically 3 ways of thinking, 4 ways of speaking, and 3 ways of using your body. So I'll start with the mind. So the #1 virtue is basically believing and committing to this idea that what you think, say, and do matters. So you're down with the idea of interdependency. You're down that you can't get away with shortchanging others and feel good yourself. And you have to be responsible. If you want to feel better, you have to be responsible for amplifying a moving pattern of goodness, and since everything that you think, say, and do matters, it really does make a difference for how you show up and how you relate. So that's #1. #2 is what's called sympathetic joy. And sympathetic joy is you commit to always be happy when somebody else gets something. Maybe you wanted the promotion and somebody else got it. You commit to be happy for them, because if you allow yourself to fall into the resentment, this is where you start pickling yourself with the stress chemicals, and it's not going to help you. And so you have to agree to be sympathetically joyful for others. The third one of mind is called well-wishing. And well-wishing is always wishing another person well. And very often people don't act kindly and virtuously. And again, so you don't fall into the trap, the poison of resentment and anger and judgmentalness that can burn for years if you have an interaction with somebody that doesn't go well, or you feel betrayed or whatever, that for yourself you've agreed to wish the person well and just feed the experience. Maybe the experience, there's something for you to learn, but let go of that resentment. Wish the person well. So those are the 3 of mind. The 4 of speech starts with honesty. You can't feel good inside when you're not truthful with others or honest with yourself. The next one is called kind or gentle speech, kind/gentle. How you say things is as important as what you say. And when you agree to speak kindly and gently, you're going to be the witness of the words that you use, the word choice that you use, and also the tone with which you speak. The third virtue of speech is called meaningful speech, and we've all been captured by someone who just sucks all the energy out of the room. They're just talking. They're talking at you, and there's no sense in them of how much energy they're capturing. Well, you agree not to capture others with your speech and to keep it meaningful. And the last one is called supportive speech, and this supportive speech is the opposite of gossip. Never speak ill or unkindly about someone else divisively. Don't break up relationships with your speech. So that's no gossip. So supportive speech is the opposite of gossip. And then 3 of body. Revere or protect life. Life is a precious thing. There's a cajillion ways to die and few ways to live, and so everything that's alive, revere and honor it. It's special, and so are you, and so the choices that you make in relationship to your body make a difference too, so honor life. The next one is to protect property. So pretend, and this is what I do when I'm teaching my daughter, pretend that everything is yours. And so if you want things if you want to live in a nice environment, take care of everything. So when my daughter and I walk in the park, we pick up trash at our park, at Himmel Park. It's close to our house. And we do that because it's our park. And so we are protecting property, and it also protecting property includes don't take anything that's not freely offered to you. And lastly, and this is big right now with the Me Too movement, you have to watch your sexuality. And there's a whole planet of sexy people, and we're all programmed to be attracted to a certain body type. And the world is full of a person that would fit that mold. And so watch where your attention goes. And those are the 10. And what we did when we came together, these 8 people in our movie crew, when we shot our film, is we all agreed to abide by those 10 virtues. And the last thing that we also agreed to is if we ever got sideways with anybody, meaning if there was some sort of disagreement, we also agreed that we would repair the disagreement, and we would always repair things back to love, and that's what we did.
That is beautiful, beautiful. So, amplify your good thoughts, avoid negative thoughts, wish well for others, speak honestly, kindly, in a purposeful and meaningful way, and supportive, and in your actions, behaviors, protect life, protect property, and watch your sexuality, right?
Yeah.
Those are beautiful, beautiful. You know, Mark, what you're saying is that really the healing and growth process is this combination of mindfulness combined with sort of intentional practices of mind and practices of speech and behavior. It's kind of a combination of a contemplative approach along with really some behavioral or action-oriented approaches for loving connection with others.
That's right.
And loving connection with ourselves as well.
That's right. It's like we've been talking about. This whole practice is about coming back into right relationship with everything. And right relationship is what causes the development, which causes the healing.
Well put. One definition for spirituality that I like is that when we're spiritually healthy, we are in harmonious relationship with reality, and that harmonious relationship is a loving relationship with ourselves and others, and really what you've developed in your practicing here and helping people is healing through the practice of love. Mindful love, and I just love what you're doing, Mark. It's just great work.
Thanks so much. It means a lot coming from you. I saw you speak in L.A. at the conference that we were both at, and I when I saw you speak, I felt a heart connection right away. Like that guy knows what he's talking about. He's living it, otherwise he wouldn't be able to articulate it the way he is, and I'm so grateful that, we were able to meet each other and make this connection, because I do hope that you and I get to do some work together and that we cultivate a friendship.
Yes, well, and vice versa. Mark, how can the listeners learn more about you and follow the work that you're doing?
Oh, thank you. I have a website called skillfullyaware.com, and you can learn about me and the classes that I teach there. And the movie that I produced, Is Your Story Making You Sick, has its own website, and that is story.movie or storythemovie.com. So either one of those two websites.
So skillfullyaware.com or storythemovie.com. This is Dr. Mark Pirtle with us on the Well Mind with Dr. Mike show with Dr. Michael McGee here. We hope that you've enjoyed this show. And Mark, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for the good work that you're doing for the world.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike. I really appreciate it.